Hi, welcome back to Dot Twang. I'm Dave. We got a laid back one today, don't we? So I'm gonna move this in just a little bit so you can see the guitar a little bit better, and we're gonna break this one down and kind of keep it simple and just get right into it. Okay, welcome. All right, so I got you moved in here. Let me show you these chords and we'll name them quickly. And then we'll briefly just talk about sort of an analysis of these chords in this progression and what key we're actually in and so forth, which will help us determine what scales are likely to work well with this. Okay, so our chords are A, B, C sharp minor. Now, this is a good example of how sometimes in a song or in a progression, the namesake of the key itself is not one of the chords. Okay, in this case, E major. This piece is in E major, but E is not one of the chords. So, um, well, how does that work? Well, the way that we can, and we're kind of back engineering this in a way, but hopefully this can, the pieces are all here and you can kind of, figure out your own understanding of this. But if I'm playing that do re mi scale, that E major scale, okay, and when I go to the fourth degree of that, note is A. Okay, in a major key, the chord that's built off the fourth tone, also called the four chord, is major, okay, by definition. So that's our four chord in the key of E. The next chord in this piece was a B. So if we move that up a whole step, it's the five chord, also naturally major in a major key. Okay, don't worry if all of that, 100% right now. Little by little, for some of you, depending on where you are, it'll come together for you. This is just a little overview of how you determine these things, how you assess it to see what scales to use. So we've got the four chord, the five chord, up another whole step, and I'm playing a minor version of this chord, which by its nature in a major key study, the sixth chord will be minor. It'll actually be the relative minor, if you've heard that, of the major one chord. Hear how related that is? They share several notes, right? And a lot of songs have those chords kind of right next to each other in sequence in the progression, right? This one doesn't have the E at all, but it does have that relative minor, the six. So numerically speaking, it's four, 5, 6 in E major. Now, so far this is all theoretical, right? Well, we got to see if our theory works. And don't take my word for it. Put that track on, and let's just try that E major scale, that do re mi, and see what happens. Okay. I certainly didn't hear many or if any bad notes in there, might get a little pedestrian feeling to you, if you're just, I'm just kind of going up and down that scale and not that interesting. But, you know, do that exploration, look at that scale as just the guardrails, right? You can do a lot of stuff within that, in those guardrails, right? There, I didn't always stop and start on the root, for example. I did a few little rhythmic things. I put a little bend in there, right? But more than anything, what makes that starts to make that sound more musical is that it's not just focusing on root to root, right? So, you know, that's a little program right there. Just taking this progression, a 4-5-6 progression in E major, and using that E major scale to improvise over it. Um, and then doing that in a couple of locations, right? So, all right. So, you know, those aren't the only two places you could do it, obviously, but I like those two because this one's kind of, it's kind of a nice, compact little, position. And also, that one doesn't start and end just on the E, right? If I go up here, that's more of that straight up root to root sound. But I like this position too, especially because of that kind of major pentatonic bending way that it sets you up here. Okay. So, we could stop right there. And for many of you, that would be something real that you could really spend some time on. And, it's as far as you can take it with the musicality, right? Say, well, I've just got those notes to work with. But yes, but you've also got the bending, the hammers, the different timing, and really allowing some space and using some punctuation. A lot of times when I'm demonstrating, I'm kind of rambling, right? I'm kind of just scaling around, and I'm doing that to show you how quickly you can put these scale concepts to use. But when you really get into it, you want to make kind of remind yourself to pause and have things that you hold longer and really get a lot out of those bends. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you could do on this piece. Um, and, if you try to cover all of those things or too many of them in a, 15-minute video, it kind of gets, starts to kind of, you know, goes past the point of diminishing returns or something, right? So that little, what we've done up till now is a good program. I do want to add one more piece to this, and maybe we'll do another video in a few days to kind of pick up some of the other pieces, that things that we could do with this progression as well, with this groove. Um, but I want to talk about using the fifths. Now, fifths of chords. Okay, so each, you know, we talked earlier about hunting down, the roots of the chords as being the different degrees of that E major scale, right? Okay, the 4, 5, and 6. But each chord in music also has, um, a 1, a 3, and a 5. And it's called the triad, the root, the third, and the fifth. So today, let's just really go with the fifth, the root and the fifth. Okay, so if we do that for each, we take a look at that with each one of the three chords. That'll give us a good start about how to kind of map around and explore using that. And it helps to connect these different positions and things, which I'll show you in just a couple of minutes here. The kind of, you know, real academic part of this portion is just knowing what that fifth is and where it is in between different strings. So, in other words, if I'm on A, you can find the fifth again by counting up. But remember, I'm using the notes that are in the E major continuum. I'm not using a major scale for every one of them. So that just power chord. Okay, right? That up a string and over 2 frets. That's a real common shape in guitar, right? That's the root to the fifth. Okay, it's just a good sound. You know, you hear this all the time in all the popular styles of guitar, right? In classical and stuff too, but certainly in, rock, jazz, blues, country. The bass in a lot of popular music and rock a lot of times really is kind of centered around the roots and fifths. A lot of bass lines of the whole song is really, built around that. So you just want your ear. This is kind of an ear training thing too. You really want to be able to just hear that fifth and bond with that. Now, other octaves of it. Okay, and then going down. If I take this root for the A. Now this is the lowest note in that chord, but remember, an octave higher than that is still referred to as the root. It's just another A. So there's our fifth right there. E happens to be the fifth for A. So there I'm going root, fifth, root. Again, sort of a power chord type of idea. If I start up here though, and I dip down to that fifth, I'm on the same fret already. And then there's another fifth up here. That makes sense. Up here, it's a different, work this stuff out with your ear. You spend a little bit of time on this, your ear's gonna, really start picking it up. You won't have to just visually memorize them. And then if I do that for each chord, you can start to do some real simple motif stuff, which means using the same idea but starting, but across different chords. Okay. So, probably not something that you could build an entire solo on or an improvisation on, but spend some time just sort of rotely practicing that roots and fifths. Be able to move around, you know, And you'll find that there's all these really kind of simple geometric places where that works. Okay. Now, again, just by itself, you feel like, oh, I feel real restricted when I'm doing it. Good. It's good to have a restriction like that and limit it to just one kind of concept and explore your neck that way. But then, before you stop that practice session, let yourself go. You know, go back and think about the few concepts that we talked about today and put them all together. Okay, so we got the chords. Okay, then we've got the E major scale. And then we've got the fifth, the root and fifth stuff. I'm sorry, got lost there for a second. But you can and another thing that's nice about this is without the track, it's easier to get lost. But you can also kind of train your ear to hear that progression when you're not using the chords with it, right? Right? So you can hear that sort of chord being implied more when you focus on those chord tones. And if you're ambitious, you can go get into the third too a little bit. So you can do one way you can do that real quickly is just taking these bar chords and kind of isolating. But there's the root. Remember, this was our root and fifth. Well, if we go start counting up, 1, 2, 3. Now, the third is what determines whether a chord's major or minor. So when you get to that C sharp minor, you gotta lower that one compared to these. It's a major third interval. Root third root, root third root, root third root. Yeah, the third one's different. It's minor. Okay. Now that's a little bit of a look ahead, but you put that in there with your roots and fifths, and you'll really start landing on some nice stuff, and you'll start finding some hidden treasures. Carried away. Does that make sense? See how there by the end it was really demonstrating all the stuff that we talked about today. Going slow, using the notes in that E major scale a lot, but then really bouncing back between that root and third, root and fifth, and then sliding that stuff around until it all just starts to kind of fit together. And it will. Watch this a couple times if you need to, because there's quite a bit of information in here, but it really sticks to those two or three concepts, okay? And we'll probably do a follow up on this one, and I'll show you some more bends and stuff that you can put in here to really stylize a solo yourself using this track. All right, let me know how it goes. Thank you. Take it easy.